Hello, right, we're back. New button of the month, well, button of the 3 months, whatever you want to call this project. So button of the moment, the Dorset button, focusing on the ring-based Dorset button. So that's all your cartwheel, for example, and the variations. So this is the this is the cartwheel. You can like make multicolored ones. The Posy, the Dorset Posy, which is this one. But you can also have a variation which is more like a tree. I don't know whether it's gonna focus on that. There we go. The singleton. So there are just 2 examples. The latest one that I'm making actually on Saturday in a drop-in workshop at Mason Mills is this one. But today we are going to learn how to make this, oops, there we go, this Dorset Posy decoration. I will follow the same instructions as what you can download when you become a email subscriber on my website. Unless you are already an email subscriber, and in that case you should have received it with my last email. So what do you need? You need a curtain ring. So I've just got like an old one. I mean, quite a lot of us have got those lying around somewhere that we don't use anymore. So yeah, so that's just an old one. I think that was one from a charity shop actually. So yeah, so you will need one of those. If you don't have one of those, it doesn't really matter. You can use any other ring. So this one is about 38 mil in diameter. So obviously, you know, you can use a bigger one or a smaller one. That is completely entirely up to you. This is your hanging decoration. But this is what I'm using here. So this is I think it's about 38. Well, this one was a 38 and it's about the same size. So yeah, 38 mil ring. Right, let's move on. Then you will need obviously a needle, which is like with an eye that's big enough so that you can put some wool through it. You will need a pair of scissors. You don't have to have such small scissors. It's just the only ones that I could find. Then you will need 3 different types of wool. So again, you know, the colours, they're completely up to you. These are the ones that I'm actually using at the moment. So the blue one to go around the ring. So I've got about 5 meters. This is more than enough. In fact, it's too much, but sometimes I prefer to have more than not enough. And then you need some green one as well, which is to make the back of the flowers, as you can see. And then you need a multicolored one. If you haven't got any, that's just, so I've got as much of the green one as I have of the blue one. Again, it's more than enough. For the multicolored one, you only need a very small amount. Probably about 1 meter is more than enough. If you haven't got any multicolored yarn, then what you can use is either another plain yarn. I mean, that's completely up to you. Obviously, what I like about the multicolored is that it gives you loads of different coloured flowers without really too much of an effort. And if you don't have multicolored, you can always use several different colors scrap yarn. This is quite a good project actually to use up your end of balls, you know, like after you've had a project and you've got something left over. It's quite a good project to use those up. If you're fed up with just crocheting crocheting or knitting small squares and making a blanket out of it, you can make loads of hanging decorations instead with it. So this method is not necessarily the most traditional way of making a Dorset Posy. However, this is just a method that I use so that it doesn't take too long to make, and you can make quite a lot of them. And it's, you know, it's easy enough to follow for even a beginner who's never heard of a, you know, if you're somebody who's never heard of a Dorset Posy, let alone made one. It's, you know, it's easy enough this way, and it's a lot quicker as well. So this is the reason why I do this method. So, but like I said, it's not the traditional one, the way that they used to be done a long time ago. So so the first thing that you need to do is to find the middle of your blue yarn, so the one that's going to go, or if you don't use blue, then whichever one is going around your ring. So you need to find the middle of that one, and you need to then thread it. And I haven't got too much nails at the moment because for whatever reason they have been breaking quite a lot lately. So it's not quite as easy to thread needles, but it's okay. I've not done too bad. So once you've threaded it, obviously we're going to use the double. We're going to use it in double. So once you've threaded it from the middle, you just need to push it away so that it's a little bit more workable length. So yeah, so if you just push it away, that'll do, like this. And then we're going to start with casting. There are 4 steps to making a Dorset button, basically. And the first one is called casting. So if you knit, for example, then it's kind of reminiscent of casting a needle before you start a knit. So what I do is that I put the looped end over the eye of the wooden ring, of the curtain ring. Then I grab my needle, and then from the back of the ring I pass my needle through this ring and then through this looped end. And this is basically going to form a bit like what we call in macrame a lark's knot, and that's going to be over the ring, so that it's not going to go anywhere, basically. So then the next step is to, again with your needle, you go from the back of the ring, you go through the ring, and if you're holding this thread that's attached to the ring, if you're holding it with your 2 fingers there, like this, it's a bit awkward to start off with, but you will soon, you'll soon get used to it. Because it actually is easier to work out where to put your needle. So I've put my needle through the ring from the back, and then I go underneath this thread that I'm or the wool that I am holding, and we're basically making a blanket stitch. So as you pull it gently, you're going to see that it's going to make, there we go, it's going to start wrapping the ring. So you need to bring it against the last one, and then here we go again, through the ring from the back and underneath this this bit of thread, and then as you pull it, you're going to see it starts forming a stitch, which is like a blanket stitch, and then you're going to see at the top you're going to have like a little ridge made with all the stitches. So I'm going to try and go a little bit faster now. I'm going to try and do it so that I don't have to pause the video and then do the rest of the wrapping or the rest of the the stitches a bit later on, off camera, and then come back, just so that I can do it at the same time as you, basically. If it's too fast, then you can either adjust the player so that it plays a little bit slower, and so every now and again you might need to push your needle out of the way, because the workable length is making it a little bit awkward. So there we go. So yeah, so if it's still too fast for you, you can adjust the player speed, or just pause it, then carry on with what you're doing, and then make it play again and then pretend that you were faster than me because you will have finished before me. So there you go. So the Dorset Posy is not actually traditionally, you would start with learning the Dorset cartwheel, for example, which is the more traditional one, or it's definitely an older design than this one. So just to show you the cartwheel again. So there we go, they're the cartwheels. But so yeah, so usually when you have tutorials on the Dorset button, I have found that you usually start with the cartwheel, and I can understand that, because this is the basic stitch really for these for this type of buttons. However, I personally think that it's actually easier to start learning the Dorset button with the Dorset Posy, because once you have made a Dorset Posy, you've basically made almost like half a cartwheel. So once you've understood the mechanics of it, I think it's easier to then go to the full ring. But I don't know, maybe it's just me. You let me know in the comments what you think. I mean, maybe you already know how to make a lot of different designs of Dorset buttons, and you might have started learning by the cartwheel like I did, actually, and actually found it easier to go this way around. But yeah, I personally think it's easier to start with the Dorset Posy. So when I was saying I'm not using the most traditional ways of doing it, it's because traditionally you wouldn't do it with a doubled up thread. It would be with a single one. So obviously it takes twice as long to do. But so yeah, so for this one, I think it's just because, like, you may want to make several decorations to, you know, to put them around your house, and or even if you want to, I don't know if you make Easter trees, but you could make Easter trees with them on, and you know, if you want to make more than one, you don't want to be spending 5 days trying to make 3 decorations. So yeah, that's the reason why I do it like that. So we are getting towards the end. So every now and again you might have to hold your thread like that, just to let it spin, so that it takes the twist out of it. As you might find that it might encourage knots to form. I'm trying to remember to put the thread on my finger, because it does make it much easier, but I don't always do that, so if you find that sometimes the wool ends up sort of like going, I mean, I can't even make it go like that, but it does sometimes sort of like come from that side, and it's making it look a little bit weird, like it's not quite right. The one way to avoid it, because it does need to come this way, is to actually hold it for as long as possible. So you put it over your finger, or you hold it like that in between your fingers, whichever is easier, really. And then once you've put your needle through and you've pulled as much of the wool as possible, then you let it go, and then there's no way that it's going to go all the way around the ring in the wrong way around. Wow. That was not easy to say. Lots of W's and R's in succession. So we are getting there. So just to give you a little bit of history, I will try and give more information on the blog post, but just since we've got a little bit more to do, about a quarter left, a bit less than a quarter, is a very quick little history of the Dorset Posy. So firstly, it's called a Dorset Posy, as in a Dorset button in the shape of a posy, because it's based on a technique used for the Dorset button, in particular the cartwheel, for example, and it wasn't actually a design that existed originally in the 1700s. So the Dorset button dates back from 1622 originally, and there was quite a few different types of designs that were made back then. It didn't actually, as far as I remember from the information that I got, that I've learned. It didn't actually even start with this design, but so those Dorset Posies, they actually, I think they started appearing, was it in the 1930s? I think I have, yeah, 1930s or 1940s, because they were, well, it was during the sort of make do and mend era, if you like, and they were made more as a decorative piece, as a brooch, for example, because, or even if it was as a button actually, but buttons were basically used to sort of like refresh garments, and you know, and then especially when it was like a, I don't know, for women's garments, then you know, to have a new little brooch or decorative button on your cardigan was almost as good as having a new cardigan, basically. I think that's what they were trying to say. So so yeah, so this is a much later type of button, but it uses the Dorset button technique, and therefore that's the reason why it is called a Dorset Posy. So there we go. I've now reached the end of my ring, so I'm back to where I started. So what you can do then, just to finish it off, is to so we're not going to use this colour anymore after the once we've finished covering this ring. So now we need to just finish it off. So to do that, I just push my needle through underneath or through the ridges in the first ridges that we made when we first started covering the ring. There we go. And so you can either do it underneath like I have done, and then if you just want to make it even more secure, then secured, then you can put it through the ridges and just weave it in and out of some of those stitches. And if you pull on it tight enough, then you should not be able to actually see it. So there you go. So I've done quite a few now, so it is now time to cut with the cute little scissors. There we go. So this is all I've got left from my wool. So if you had a length of wool that wasn't quite enough to cover all of your ring, all you need to do is just get more wool to carry on casting. So, and then just do the same, just get the middle of the wool so that you've got a looped end. Keep the loop end on top of the ring, and then pull your needle through the ring and then through the looped end, and then just carry on like this until you've covered all your ring. So in the end, what you get is this ring with all the stitches on the outside. So the second step for making your Dorset button or your Dorset Posy is called slicking. So this step is actually completely optional. It's really entirely up to you. If you feel that you really like the look of those stitches on the outside, then leave them there. Obviously, when you make a button, you don't really want to be seeing the stitches on the outside of your ring. So when you put it against your garment, you want to see like a flat button like this one. But because it is a decorative piece, it's really completely entirely up to you. Whatever you prefer, you can leave them there, or use or do the step 2, which is slicking. So I will show you, obviously. So all it is just a matter of pushing the stitches so that they are on the back of the ring, like this. So obviously, because we have put a loop around the eye so that it wouldn't sort of move around so much, so it will end up being a little bit like a pointy thing on the back here, but you're not going to be able to see it. I probably could have put another a little bit more, one more wrap actually of this, but it doesn't matter, it's absolutely fine like that. So yeah, so you just push the stitches on the back like this, and then you obtain a ring where you can't see the stitches anymore, and it's all nice and flat and smooth on this side. So that's 2 steps done. Another 2 steps to go before you can finish your Dorset button. So for the next step, we need the green yarn. There we go. So for the green yarn, so we're going to use it in the single this time. So same thing again, you can just, thread it. So this time you just need to basically push the needle through the back of the ridges at the back, so that you thread it through. So it might be a little bit difficult because obviously it is quite tight, and so it should be really. And then hopefully you won't get a knot by the time you've finished pulling all of the yarn through. Oh, here's one knot right at the end as well. So let me undo this. There we go. There we go. I think that will be a bit secure. So there you go. It just goes to show, just don't do what I tell you to do, because it doesn't work. So what I do as well is I would put it through the green yarn through the end so that it's even better. It just grabs everything. Right, let's try again. When I made my sample, I did a a double knot, and obviously it worked, but just because I show you now, it won't work, and it's coming apart very quickly. So this time it will definitely, see, I'm pulling on it quite a lot and it's just not coming apart. So the only thing I want to do is just put it so that it's a bit more in the middle. So I will put it through once more this way around so that it's actually just in the middle. And then it will make it slightly easier for... I just like things to be where they need to be. I know it doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah, this is me. It's entirely up to you where you want yours to be. If you want to start from slightly to the side of the hook, the hook, the eye there. Okay, right, now you can put your needle to one side, still attached, because now we're going to work with this end. So step 3 is called laying, and what we're basically going to do is lay the spokes around which we will be sort of weaving, if you like, the wool, so that we have then a basis onto which to put our flowers. So to show you on the finished one, so the spokes are basically there. So you see the top bit there, these are the spokes, and they all end up in the middle, and that forms the stems of the flowers as well. So we're making like a fan shape in the ring. So you will start with the wool at the back of the ring. Well, I don't know why I showed that one, but at the back of the ring. and then you just pretend that this is like your 12 o'clock at the top. So you're going to hold your thread from the back over the ring down to 6 o'clock, which is the opposite direction. Then you go over the ring again, but this time you come back up at the back and slightly to the left or the right, it's up to you, but I'm going to go to the left. Which is going to be my 10 o'clock position. Okay. Then from 10, I'm coming back down to 6. Now it's up to you. You can make it go right on top of it or just next to it. I prefer to make it go next to it because then it looks a little bit more like stems. Then I go back over the ring and to the back of the ring and around the ring on the 2 o'clock position. 2 o'clock position. Back to 6. So every time you go around at the top, you come back down to the 6 o'clock. Then to the left again, this time on the 11. And then I come back there, this time on the 1. And I come back to 6. And then I could stop here, but I do like to have 2 threads for each spokes. That's not English. 2 threads per spoke, per each spoke. So at the moment, your 10, 11, 1 and 2 o'clocks have got 2 threads, but your 12 o'clock doesn't. So I do want to go back up to the 12 o'clock. So this is what I'm doing. But obviously because we've got nowhere else to go now, we've done all that we needed to do to make this little fan shape, then I just make it go around the ring, the ring that's at the top there, the eye. So there you go. So my thread is there, and then I'm going to go with my needle on the side of the 2 o'clock, in between the 2 o'clock threads and the ring, basically in that little gap there. So I'm just going to go there, and then I'll turn it around just to show you what happens at the back. So then you pull all of your thread through. So I'm still holding it there at the moment. Then your needle goes in between your 10 o'clock and the ring. So it just goes in that little gap there all the way to the back of the ring. Okay, so all the way until it's right against it. Then I'm going to turn it around to show you what I'm doing. So that little bit of thread that we had that was coming down from the 12 o'clock is just there still. So I put my needle inside it, and this way it's just going to make it a little bit tighter. It's going to secure all the spokes together. I think a little bit better than if it was just a wrap around. So I find it's a slightly better finish. Okay, so now I can turn it back round because I've pretty much done what I needed to do, or needed to show you. And then I'll just do that again, maybe another 2 times. If you want to do it a little bit more so that it goes slightly higher, then you can do that. Again, it's just your preference. So I go in between the 2 o'clock and the ring, and then in between the 10 o'clock and the ring, and I just go all the way around. And you can pass it through the loop at the back, or you can just make it a wrap. It's again entirely up to you and your preference. So there you go, and then just one more, and I think that will be more than enough. There we go. So that'll be quite a nice little bunch. So I'm just still holding it there because otherwise it might unravel slightly, so it just makes it slightly easier. Okay, so that's 3 steps done now. And we are just about to do our very last step for the Dorset button. Obviously not for the Posy. For the Posy we still need to do the flowers. But for the Dorset button technique, if you like, this is the last step. So the last step is the rounding. Obviously you can understand here that it is a rounding because you're going round and round in a circle. Here it's still called rounding just because it's easier to explain the technique, but you're actually going to go this way in rows rather than in rounds. So for the first row, you place your needle from the back of the ring in between the 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock. And then you get all the yarn through. Obviously at one point you need to let it go where you were holding it. Yeah, so that's that. Then it goes down in between the 2 o'clock and the ring. And hopefully there's no knots. Saying that, the green colours always knot. There's always knots in green for some reason. And I like to use green, so it's a bit annoying. So then you place your needle between the 1 o'clock and the 12 o'clock. And you pull all of the yarn again. So yes, at this point, the 2 o'clock spoke will be wrapped. So if you can see it there, it is wrapped. So this is basically what we're doing. We're going to be wrapping each spoke in turn. And then you go between your 2 and your 1 o'clock. And then just make sure that it's lined up with the previous one. Then you go between 12 and 11. And you come back and pull the all of the wool. And then you go down between 12 and 1. So you just need to think about which spoke you're trying to wrap. And whichever spoke you're trying to wrap, you will always come up to the left of it. So like here, we're going to be wrapping spoke number 11. So we come into the left of it. So here we go. And then we're going back down to the right of it. And that's number 11, spoke. The 11 o'clock spoke, that is now wrapped. Then we want to wrap number 10, so we're coming up from the left of it. And we're going back down to the right of it. Oops. There you go. And now you have it. You've got your first round, effectively, or your first row is now finished. So then repeat the same steps as what we've just done for our first row. So that means that you then come back in between. So you need to wrap your 2 o'clock spoke. So you need to come back to the left of the 2 o'clock and then down to the right of it. So you can do it in one movement, one flowing movement, and then that avoids you having to pull it all the way one way and all the way the other way. So to the left of number 1 and to the right of number 1, since that's the one that we want to wrap. So there we go. And then you just carry on this way, basically. Right. So to the left of 12, down to the right of 12. And to the left of 1, to the right of 1. So it's this movement of wrapping the yarn over the wool or over the spokes. It actually puts a twist as well in the in your, a bit of a spin on your wool, so you might have to hold it up like that so that it takes this out of the yarn, and it might make it slightly easier. Okay, so to the left, that's the very last spoke on this row, to the left of number 2, and then to the right of number 2. There we go. So that's now 2 rows done. So, and then you just carry on until you've gone up to the top of the ring. So there we go. And then it's easier actually if you do hold it like I do on one side of the ring, and then pull the yarn so it goes all the way to the other side of it and out the way. So 1 o'clock spoke. So again, I'm going to try and go a little bit faster just so that I don't have to pause the video too much and then catch up again later, just so that it's all done in real time effectively. And I've got a little knot here. There we go. And then this way as well, if I do it in real time, it kind of gives you an idea of how long it may take. Maybe how long it may take once you've had a little practice, because at the beginning it might not be quite so fast for you. Although I think it's not certainly when you're doing the posy as opposed to doing the full ring, it's not quite as difficult to work out, and I think you soon get the hang of it, and you can just be doing it, you know, just take your time about it, obviously, if you want to, or you don't really have to think too much about what you're doing. It's just so yeah, like I said, there's probably far too much wool here, and obviously each wrap takes some pulling, but just you know, just enjoy the just enjoy it for you know, as you're doing it. You don't really have to think about too much else, and just, it's just a little bit of time out, isn't it? Bit of time out in your day. Yeah, and then if, you know, I guess it all depends why you craft as well, whether it's just because you enjoy handmade things, whether you enjoy you know, learning about heritage crafts and just, you know, to make sure that they don't disappear and be forgotten about, or whether because like it is quite often for me, it's a way to have a few minutes to, or an hour to yourself, or because your back is hurting a little bit too much, or, you know, I mean, or whatever else is hurting too much. I mean, you know, it's like with the fibromyalgia, you just, it could be anything and everything all at once. So whilst I'm concentrating on something like this, I think it gives my brain a bit of break, and it can't concentrate on the pain, so I'm quite happy for that. Distracts a little bit. I'm going to start coughing again in a minute because I'm doing quite a lot of talking. Quite a lot of waffling. Yeah, I mean, that's something I suppose that you could let me know in the comments as well. Why you craft, or what made you want to go and have a look at this video in particular. Maybe have a go as well. In fact, are you having a go at the same time, or are you just enjoying watching it? I mean, sometimes I just I watch craft videos just for the sake of watching it, and I'm actually not going to necessarily have a go one day. It's just sometimes it's quite soothing, and it's really interesting as well to actually watch others make. I like to know how things work, so it does interest me quite a lot. I mean, I once watched I can't remember what it was now. I think it was a documentary of some sort about a cooper, so making buckets and things like that. You know, like the sort of buckets that have the metal ring around. And I mean, I was never going to be making buckets anytime soon, but it was really interesting to actually watch how he was making them, because it was still the, you know, all made by hand, traditional way. So yeah. So where I am there, so to the left of number 1, and then to the right of it. And also, do you prefer to, like, if you're actually watching because you want to learn how to make yourself, do you find it enough to watch a video, or would you prefer to go to a workshop and actually have somebody there showing you a bit more up close what how they do? And I think the good thing with the workshops is all the social aspect of it as well, because you get to meet other people that are like-minded people, who enjoy the same things. So this is always good. Obviously it's a bit more difficult to interact with a video. But please do in the comments. And I will keep an eye on my comments a little bit more, because I have only just realised last night that a few of the videos had comments on them and I'd never seen them, and they'd been there for about a month and I'd not seen them because I didn't get a notification. And I don't always think of going to check the videos on a regular basis, so this is something that I'm going to try and do a little bit more regularly now, so that I can actually answer any questions as well. Okay, so we're about halfway up, maybe a little bit more than halfway, which is good. So, another knot. Oh, it's not a real knot, I don't think. No, there we go. It's just a little bundle. So sometimes as well, it's good to actually stop a little bit and have a look at it, because it does happen sometimes that some of the stitches will sort of like ride on top of each other. Or because they might be slightly looser. So like this one, I've made it a little bit looser compared to the rest, but it's okay, I'll live with it. You're not going to be able to see it once the flowers are on top anyway. But yeah, you can see that you could loosen the whole thing a little bit by just pushing it up, and it's still, you know, it's still quite tight enough against each other. But at least it covers a little bit more of the ring, so now I've got a little bit more than half done. Okay, so I've just finished a row, so I'm just about to start the next one, and let's do a little quiz just to see if you've been following and if you know what you're doing now, if you've understood what you're doing now. So when I start a new row, where do I go? Do I go here between the ring and number 2, or here between number 2 and number 1, or even here between number 1 and number 12? So I want to wrap this first spoke, so where do I need to go to wrap it? I'll give you 2 seconds to think about it. Yes, so if you've said it was between the 1 and the 2, this is correct, because I want to go to the left of my number 2 spoke, and then I want to go to the right, back to the top, to the back of the ring. To wrap my number 1 spoke. Then I want to wrap number 2, so I'll go to the left, to the left, and down to the right. There you go, and then you can just push them a little bit, just to, if they get too, sorry, it's catching on my jumper again, on my cardigan. Right, just so that they don't ride on top of each other. Oh, and I'm bringing the little bits that I had earlier, so no, I don't want that. I don't want to catch them. Right, let's push everything out of the way. There you go. Next one. There you go. And then I'm back on the first one. There you go. So the sides are probably going to be finished a little bit quicker than the middle, because obviously it meets the spoke meets the ring a little bit sooner than the ones in the middle. But it's okay for a couple of rows. You might they might just need to be a little bit tighter on the sides. I mean, you can actually skip the spokes if it's really too awkward, but it's not really a huge problem, because it is going to be probably just a couple of rows worth where they're going to be a little bit tighter than the rest. Than the other spokes. Oh, so that one's just, there you go. I just moved just a little bit too far down. Oh. So I've just switched it a little bit, and instead of going to the left and then to the right of one, I'm going to the right of one, to the left of the other of the next one. It's just to vary the movement slightly. Okay, so I think this is probably going to be the last row to follow. Let me put it. There you go. So here at the top it's so let's see on this one. Yeah, this is going to be the last one. There you go. And the 11 o'clock. And lastly, the 10 o'clock. Oh, and it's gone over again. Right, I could probably fit another row, but I think that's probably more than enough, especially on the sides. Otherwise they're going to be going on top of the previous stitch. Okay, so this is your rounding almost finished. You just need to pass this to the back and trim it. So this is what we're going to do now. So I'm just going to show you that. So obviously on the front you will see the details of the spokes that have been wrapped, and then on the back it's all flat. So there we go. Okay, so to finish off, you just need to, so your thread here finishes here. So you will have made, I mean, I don't know if I can actually show you, but if you look at your the back of your button decoration, you'll see that it's kind of made like little tunnels around the where the spokes are. Like I said, it's probably not visible on the video, but this is basically where you can then thread your wool through so that it's not visible on the back, and you know it's not visible because you can't see your needle through, and it's not visible on the back either. And then if you do it from the top and then make it come out at the bottom where it's the tightest point, then it doesn't really matter whether it comes out through the front or through the back, because you're not really going to be able to see it anyway. But the only thing is, don't do like me and catch it on the wool that's on the yarn, on on the wool that's on the ring. So try and make sure that it clears the wool. There we go. And then you can just pull that. So like I said, there's more than enough. Like if you've got 5 meters worth at the beginning, that's more than you would actually need. And if you need to add more wool, because actually you started with a lot less, and it wasn't quite enough to actually complete the whole of the rounding, so I'm just going to, well, I don't need to actually because it's just there. I was going to put it through, so I'm just making sure that it's going through the back completely. There we go. So it's now disappeared. I'm just going to adjust that slightly. So yeah, so if you've needed to add some more thread, so if you trim it as close as possible, there we go, then this is what you do basically. You get your, I've just realised I say basically a lot. You get your thread or your wool through this little tunnel down all the way to the back of the where it's the tightest, the narrowest, and then with the new wool that you will have threaded, you then go back through the back on the where the tightest and narrowest, where you ended up with the other one, and then go back up to the spoke that you just completed, that you just wrapped. So let's say it was this one, so you just go back up this way, so you would need to arrive on the right of it, and then you just carry on basically doing your rounding. So this is it. So once you've completed this, you can now say you know how to make a Dorset button. Well, almost. The last thing that there is left to do, so the last step to make the Dorset Posy, is to make the flowers. So for this you need your multicoloured yarn, which you need to thread. Oh, sorry, I need to go a little bit closer to my eyes so that I can thread it. And we're going to use it in a single. So you only need to put your needle a little bit of the way down, but we're using the single length. Then you just need to make a knot on the other end. I prefer to make a double knot because obviously this is not very tight fabric, if you like, so I wouldn't want it to go through. There's good chances that it won't, but just in case, I prefer the knot to be slightly thicker, so I'll make a double one. So there you go, this is that done. Then we're going to make, so if you do embroidery already, you will be familiar with them, but we will now make French knots to be able to make the flowers. So I would normally start where it's the tightest because it's then the easiest to deal with French knots, especially if you haven't made them before. Then if you start where it's the tightest, then it'll make it easier to start off with, and you will be able to then deal with the ones where it's not quite as tight easier, because you will have had more practice by then. Okay, so you just thread it through the whole fabric of this of this shape, fan shape, and then what we'll do is hold this thread as tight as possible, then wrap the needle around twice. And I prefer to wrap the needle around, even though sometimes I don't always do it like that, but I prefer to wrap the needle around the thread rather than the thread around the needle, because it means that I can keep the tension on the thread, because I don't want the thread to go loose. So once I've done that, then the point of my needle will go back down very close to where the thread came back up, and I put it down there. Make sure that the wraps go down, and I still keep this as tight as I can. So I'm going to put it on the ring whilst I'm holding it and picking it up so that I can pull my needle on the other side, but I'm still keeping it tight. And then you pull your needle through, so it's going to come through the wraps. Yeah, I'm still keeping this tight, and gently pull it so that the wool is coming through, going through the knots. Yeah. And then right at the end you can let it go, but pull gently so that the whole knot is not going to come through. And there we are. This is the first French knot. So I will show you again. So I would advise that you put your ring on the desk and then do it, only because it makes it easier. So obviously you need to pull it through so that your thread is back at the front of your ring again before you can do your knot. So yeah, I would say put your ring through on the desk. I was going to say on the floor, yeah, right. Because it does make it easier to start off with, and then you can sort of like hold the ring down with your fingers. So hold the thread tight, wrap your needle, 1, 2, making sure that it's still quite tight. Point your needle down to very close to where the thread came back up. Oops, I almost let it go there. And then it's fine for the knots to go all the way down. Just make sure that you keep this thread tight. So again, I'm putting it against the ring because it's easier to hold it, but it's still tight. And then you put it all the way through, pull it gently at the back. It might be a little bit difficult at first because obviously the yarn is doubled at the beginning of the length, so, and then you pull it, then you let it go towards the end, but gently pull it, keep pulling, and there we go, there's another one. So I'll make another little one there. And then what you can do is experiment with them and see what it's like if you do more than 2 wraps. So I'll just do 2 again on that one. There we go. And I'll do one here. You can do them as close to each other as you want. It is your ring, you do what you want. But yeah, you can try with more than 2. So let's say, like, we're going to do 3 this time. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it's like really difficult because I've done it so tight, which is a good thing, but then because the eye of the needle is a little bit wider than the rest of the needle, it doesn't just want to come through. And and there we go. So as you can see, if you the more times that you wrap it, the bigger the French knots will then be, because this one is slightly bigger than the other 3 that I've made here. But yeah, so you can make some big ones or small ones. I'll do one with 4, and then you can see the difference. 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be even more difficult to get the needle through, but we will do it. I will not give up. I might have to give up. It just doesn't want to come through. Ah, there we go. I've done it. There we go. So this one is with 4, so you can see it's a bit more, it's yet again a little bit bigger. So right, I'll carry on and make a few more. It's so much easier when you've only got 2 wraps to get your needle through. See, the technique goes a bit out of the window when I try and go faster, because I've been wrapping it the wrong way around. So let's do it properly. 1, 2. I'll make a few with 3 as well now. One, 2, 3. There we go. Try and fill the flowers up a little bit faster. So if you're doing your knot a little bit further from where you actually came up with your thread, it does this, so it gives you like an extra little bit of thread, which I quite like as well actually. But obviously then it's not a proper French knot, but it's a nice flower. 2, 3. So there you go. And I'll do 1, 2, 3. I'll do another 3 flowers all together, and then I will stop it there. there, another one here. So on my sample, I've made quite a few more there. So it's really up to you how many you want to do. So I might make some more later, but just for the purpose of this video, I will stop here. Oh, that one's gone a little bit too much to the side, because I wasn't careful what I was doing. There we go. And then here's the last one for this decoration. There we go. All right. I think on this one as well, I made a lot more of the bigger ones, so with the more wraps than just the two. So I might finish it in a little bit, just to add some more flowers. But I think for the purpose of this tutorial, it's fine like this. So I'm going to leave it attached to the ring for now, just to so that I don't have to rethread it again in a bit. So the last thing that you need to do really is just to grab a length of the wool and then thread it through the eye of that ring. Like this. And I mean, you could use a piece of ribbon if you've got some ribbon available somewhere, and then just make the loop as big or as long as you want. Cut that up, and here we are. Here it is, finished, or almost finished. I'm just going to add a few more flowers. There we go. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this.